This meeting is being recorded and streamed via the Council website and Facebook. Good afternoon, councillors, staff and members of the public. Please be upstanding for our Mayor, Councillor Straub, to read the opening affirmation.
We, the Council Laws of Loddon Shire, declare that we will carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and through collective leadership we will maintain the highest standards of good governance.
The Loddon Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are gathered and pays its respects to elders both past and present. Please be seated.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald, and welcome councillors and staff to our August meeting. Welcome to all of the community joining online via the online stream. We will move forward with today's proceedings, and firstly we will start with apologies, which there is no apologies for today's meeting. Secondly, any conflicts of interest to declare? Mr Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I have a general conflict of interest in relation to item 14.1. It could be perceived to a fair-minded person that I could inappropriately influence the appointment of councillors and an independent advisor to the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. I will leave the room for that item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald, for declaring that. It's been noted. Councillors, before we move on to the minutes of previous, there is an alteration to the order of business today, and I must note that we have a proposal that the items listed at 11.4 on today's agenda be considered after items 10.3 as a decision report, not an information report. So just noting that, councillors, we will be moving 11.4 from the information report to a decision report, and recommendation will stay the same. All right, in saying that, we will move on. So our first item, 5.1, is the confirmation of minutes of previous. I'll take those minutes as read. Was there any questions, queries or comments, councillors, regarding the minutes? If not, I'll ask for a mover that those minutes be true and correct. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Show of hands in favour, and those minutes are carried. Thank you very much. 6.1 is Council's auspiced meetings, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald to please run through those auspiced meetings and the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council's governance rules require a record of meetings conducted under the auspices of Council to be recorded and reported at the next available scheduled meeting for confirmation. Attached to this report is a record including which councillors attended those meetings, a summary of the matters considered, and a record of any conflicts of interest that were disclosed. The recommendation is that Council confirm the records of the following auspiced meetings as detailed within this report. 1. The Council briefing held 28 July 2026. 2. The Energy and Resources Councillor briefing session held 30 July 2026. And 3. The Council forum held on the 11th of August 2026. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, those auspiced meetings are covered in the agenda. Three-part recommendation as we've got there in front of us, sorry. Do I have a councillor prepared to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Seconder, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Show of hands in favour, and those auspiced meetings record is carried. Moving on to 7.1, our review of actions, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald please to take us through those action sheets.
Thank you again, Mr Mayor. Councillors, a document containing the status of actions associated with Council resolutions is attached to this agenda report. That attachment includes what the resolutions were and the action taken to close them out. I am very pleased to report that all actions have now been completed and there are none outstanding. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the status of Council resolution actions as attached to this report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, any questions, queries or comments regarding those action sheets? If not, I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation in front of us. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A show of hands in favour, and those action sheets are carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to 8.1 and we'll start with the mayoral report, and I'll just cover off on a few things this month. It has been, it has been a busy month. A couple of things I'd like to report on at this point in time is myself, along with Mr Fitzgerald, have been quite active in pushing our Loddon Shire priorities document in the lead up to the November state election. So I've been taking all opportunities to sit down with current sitting members of Parliament and also candidates that are bidding for election in November to make sure all of those individuals are well aware of the priorities that we've listed in that document that set out the roadmap for the partnership, the help, the funding that we need in Loddon Shire to progress with those projects listed. I won't go over those projects again, but we've well documented that that piece of work. So at the moment, I have taken the opportunity, along with Mr Fitzgerald, to meet with sitting member Peter Walsh and candidate Brett Hosking to go through the prospectus of the priorities, also with our federal member for Mallee, Anne Webster. I've also travelled to Parliament House recently to meet with Minister, sorry, just bear with me, Minister for Regional Development, among other things. Her name escapes me at the moment, but those meetings will continue with a few more in the diary for the coming weeks, so we'll report back on them when they happen. Sorry, we're just having some issues with the computer here. So things have been going well. We've been making sure, like I said, that those key asks are being noted, and we've had some good strategic conversations moving forward. I've also had a number of progress meetings this month, meeting with the Serpentine Community Planning Group in Serpentine, which again was a great conversation, and there's a lot of vision there coming out of the Serpentine Community Planning Group. Likewise, meeting with Midiamo Progress Association and working through some key projects there, and helping advise for future applications for grant money. Dingy Progress Association as well this month, and things are moving along too with their community plan and their vision for their piece of work that they're undertaking at the Dingy Recreation Reserve. So there's lots of things happening around the Shire, and they're just a few key things that I wanted to report on this month, with a few key meetings that are coming up to at the end of the month, but we'll cover off in the September meeting. But just a heads up that myself and Mr Fitzgerald will be attending our Murray River Group of meeting in a week's time, and there'll be some key objectives there that no doubt you've heard me talk about in the past regarding Murray-Darling Basin, among other things, and also attending the Regional Council's Victoria Forum next week as well. So there'll be a report in the coming weeks on how those went and what we were able to achieve in promoting Loddon Shire through those meetings in September. So thank you, councillors. I'll leave that brief report there, and I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move that my mayoral report be accepted. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A show of hands in favour, and that report is carried. Thank you, councillors. I'll move on to our council law reports now, and I'm going to start today with Councillor Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, on the 4th of the 8th, I attended the local VFF meeting in Newbridge. On the 5th of the 8th, I attended a Lanakuri Hall committee meeting. On the 11th of the 8th, on the 11th of the 8th, of course, I was here in Wedderburn for a council briefing. 21st of the 8th, Tarnagola Community Planning meeting. And of course, I'm here today and got to have a look at the new pound facilities up here in Wedderburn. Outstanding. Very well done by all involved, and of course I'm looking forward to the community engagement tomorrow at Newbridge. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Holt.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. 30th of the 7th, I attended the Energy and Resource Councillor briefing session at Pyramid Hill. I thought that was a very worthwhile day, Mr. Mayor, in its contribution to our knowledge of what's occurring in this space, and helped probably help focus our thinking around all the issues that those rollouts have for Loddon Shire. I enjoyed this one, Mr. Mayor. On the 6th of the 8th, I attended the Engine Park and Market Square Community Asset Committee Annual General Meeting. And can I say, Mr. Mayor, that's a terrific little committee representing 3 excellent community groups who are all in their own way making a significant contribution to our community. This was, the next one, Mr. Mayor, was a very significant event in the history of Wedderburn, and it was the official opening of the Wedderburn Early Learning Centre, or JUPITIN. By any measure, it's a magnificent facility, Mr. Mayor, and it can only contribute to the viability of this area of the Loddon Shire, and we look forward to other areas of the Shire getting adequate early years servicing. On the 11th we had the council forum here, and finally I'd like to mention, Mr. Mayor, that on the 12th I attended a Wedderburn Lions Club Aged Care Subcommittee meeting. Now you all would recall, of course, that we have, as a council, have supported their endeavours in this area by making land available, council-owned land, making that available if such a program or project was to proceed. Now at that meeting, specific guests were invited, including me, to be asked their views on the project. And I answered as honestly as I could to their questions. The issue around what Loddon Shire might be able to do to help them, outside of advocacy, our contribution in terms of real estate, I think, is the most significant thing we can do. I just wish them well, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. We'll move across to Councillor Weaver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. On the 30th of last month, I also attended the Energy and Resource briefing in Pyramid Hill, which we learnt a bit at. On the 11th, I attended Council Forum here. On the 19th, I attended the AGM of the Board Senior Citizens Group and Board, and I chaired their annual elections, and that was a lovely meal, and it's good to catch up with a few of those people. Just driving around Loddon a bit lately, I see how much potential there is in the paddocks. We'll be lucky if we don't get, wouldn't take much rain, Mr Mayor, to cause significant flooding up our end of the Shire, so we might have dodged a bullet in the last 24 hours, so that's a good thing. A month of fine weather would be pretty handy if anyone can help organise that, but I'd just like to finish by wishing all the winter sports teams all the best for the September finals. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver, and we'll finish today with Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I too attended the Energy and Resource Council Forum, most informative and educational day. On the 31st, I was involved with the Calder Improvement Committee reformation group, where we are re-establishing that committee. It has lapsed over the past couple of years, so it's been reformed. So I'm excited that the councillors from really Moonee Ponds to Mildura are on board with getting together now. That's probably not going to have much impact on the state election, but certainly for advocacy for the next federal election, that will be well and truly up and running. On the 4th, I attended the Bridge Coffee Morning in Bridgewater, a really interesting talk about soft foods and the making of soft foods, and that it doesn't just require food being vitamised, it can actually be nice and appetising as well. On the 6th, joined the Campbell's Forest Progress Association, where they were getting ready and the finalisation of their Back to Campbell's Forest Day, their Nostalgia Day, which happened last Sunday on the 23rd. Fantastic turnout, an incredible amount of memorabilia that was put together by the community. They had people from all over Victoria who have got some sort of connection with Campbell's Forest who attended that. 17th was the Inglewood Development and Tourism Committee meeting. They're busy planning, getting their plans and everything organised for Inglewood Alive, which is on Sunday the 1st of November this year. So that's all well and truly in train. The 20th, I was involved with the interview panel for the independent advisor for the committee that we have an obligation to establish for the review of the CEO's performance. Some very strong candidates were interviewed, and we will be making a decision today on that. And on the 20th in the evening, Bridgewater on Loddon Development, where they are, believe it or not, already talking about their Christmas functions, what that's going to be, what date that's going to be, and I can't believe that's already happening. So very busy, active community groups with a huge scope of what they're doing, and it's just a delight to be able to listen in and be involved in what they've got going on. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. There is a lot happening, and yes, it is daunting when we're talking about Christmas party planning already. Again, the same sort of conversations happening with progress associations that I've been involved with recently. Thank you all for those reports. I will ask if there's a councillor prepared to move that those reports be noted. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour. Those reports are carried. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move along to our decision reports. And councillors, we have 4 reports for decision today. And we'll start with 10.1. Our proposed motion to the MAV State Council meeting coming up in October. I will ask Mr Fitzgerald to please deliver that report and recommendation, and then we'll seek a mover and a seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, you may recall back in January 2026, the Council was in the process of developing its budget. One of the things that we consider as a part of workshopping the budget is the known changes occurring around the state. One of those, of course, was the, I believe, November legislation to introduce a treaty into Victoria. So we don't know what the impact of that will or won't be. So it's just a bit unknown at the moment. Because of that unknown factor, Council is seeking some clarification, and as are all councils in Victoria really, around how is that rolling out, what are the timelines, and what are the impacts, both financial and non-financial. One of the ways that we can work together as a local government industry is to work through our membership peak body, which is the Municipal Association of Victoria, who have their next State Council meeting on the 23rd of October 2026. So the MAV State Council is really that opportunity for us to join as a collective and advocate on issues that affect local government. This report goes into quite a bit of detail about I guess, the opportunities and challenges that exist. But I am at great pains to stress that this motion that is proposed to go to the MAV does not seek to support or oppose Victoria's treaty process. Rather, it seeks improved communication with councils and clarity about the potential financial, resourcing, statutory and operational implications for local government arising from statewide or local treaties. All we're asking for is clarity. So, councillors, the recommendation here is one, that Council endorse the following motion for submission to the 23 October 2026 Municipal Association of Victoria State Council meeting. Now, councillors, I won't read it in full. It is included in the agenda papers, but you can see that there's a 5-part motion that is proposed to be submitted to the MAV, along with the rationale which expands upon what I've just said. The second part of the recommendation is essentially administrative. It is to authorise the CEO to make any minor changes to improve the wording of the motion and or update the motion relative to any changes to the issue that may have occurred between the council meeting and the date of final adjustments to the motion, that being the 28th of August this month. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, we've developed this motion, and now it is the opportunity to ask any last-minute questions, queries or comments. Councillor Holt? No?
I'm happy to move to the recommendation in a timely manner, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. Councillor Holt has moved. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Holt, as the mover, opportunity to speak to the motion.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, what we're proposing here is in fact relatively straightforward. We, like many councils, are under financial pressure, and we are having a very close look at our service delivery, and all we're asking for here is some clarity around what it might mean for Loddonshire Council and the municipal sector really, of the implementation of statewide and traditional owner treaties. It's no more than that. In order to prepare for this, we would like to work with the government to understand what our obligations might be under this and what, if any, financial impact that might have on Loddonshire finances, or what it might have on Loddon Shire resources, such as the work of our staff. I think, Mr Mayor, our rationale is worth repeating at this public meeting today, and that is that this motion does not seek to support or oppose Victoria's treaty process. That's the first thing that should be made very clear. Rather, it seeks improved communication with councils and clarity about potential financial, resourcing, statutory and operational implications for local government arising from statewide or local treaties. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Holt. I'll go to Councillor Weaver as a seconder.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think Councillor Holt covered it very well in what we're after, and that's just a bit of clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Is there any other councillor wishing to speak for or against? No? Just before I ask for a show of hands in favour, it's probably worth noting that this motion was put to our MAV regional meeting month back, and in my capacity as Mayor attending that meeting, the feedback from our regional council neighbours and partners was very supportive, and was accepted by the region that this was a very, very smart motion to put through, and we will then be, as we've just done, moved and seconded this motion for submission to the MAV State Conference. So in saying that, I fully endorse the motion as well, and I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Let's continue to move on to 10.2, and that is the adoption of the Loddon Shire Council Complaint Handling Policy version 2 and Complaint Handling Framework version 2. And I'll ask Director Stedman to please take us through the report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report presents to you a proposed revision of Loddon's complaint handling policy and framework for Council's consideration. Complaints are an important source of information for Council, and when handled well, they provide an opportunity to identify issues, improve our services and processes, and demonstrate accountability and transparency to the community. The recent review of the complaint handling policy and framework has focused on strengthening fairness, consistency and transparency in how Council receives, assesses and resolves complaints, while providing clearer pathways for escalation and review. A key change in these revised documents is the introduction of an extra stage in the complaint review process, providing an opportunity for unresolved complaints to be considered at the executive level before progressing to an independent internal review. The review also looks to consolidate a separate policy that relates specifically to complaints about councillors into the overarching complaint handling policy and framework. This will provide the community with a single point of information when seeking to raise complaints, which would mean that the existing complaints against councillors policy is no longer required, and officers recommend that it be rescinded as part of today's recommendation. The revised documents have been informed by the Victorian Ombudsman's Good Practice Guidance and the Australian Standard for Complaint Management, as well as the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020. Following discussion at the August Councillor Forum, the revised policy and framework are now presented to Council for adoption. The recommendation with councillors today is that Council 1 adopts the Loddon Shire Council Complaint Handling Policy version 2 and Complaint Handling Framework version 2 and rescinds the Complaints Against Councillors policy. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Stedman. Councillors, we've got the recommendation in front of us. I will ask if there's any late questions, queries or comments. Councillor Holt with a question.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Are there any statutory requirements around accepting anonymous complaints? I mean, I have a thing about anonymous complaints. I mean, if you, and certainly anonymous complaints to an officer or to us, or to the council, because they aren't public. They're between the complainant and us. And I have some reservations around anonymous complaints, and you all mightn't share that, but I'm just wondering, are we required to accept them?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Holt. And Director Stedman or Mr Fitzgerald, do we have any feedback, answers?
Thank you, Mayor Straub, and through you, Mayor. To answer your question, Councillor Holt, I don't think that there is any explicit legislative requirement for us to accept anonymous complaints. I don't believe there's anything that specifically covers that. However, the proposed framework certainly touches on how council is setting an expectation with the community on how it treats anonymous complaints, noting that they'll be accepted and addressed where possible. However, we will only be able to investigate or respond to those complaints with the information that we're provided. So I think given that we see complaints as an avenue of feedback from our community, that it's important for us to be able to take on board feedback that may improve our services. But certainly we're obviously limited by the amount of information that we have as to how extensive that response may be.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Holt, any further clarifications?
I think Officer Stedman was outlining a policy position there, not an operational position. That's the end of the matter for me, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holt, for that question. Thank you for the answer, Director. Councillors, no further questions. Was there a councillor prepared to move? Councillor Wilson, thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Angelo, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, as the mover, opportunity to speak to the motion.
I'm very pleased to support this piece of work. We had an opportunity to review it at the August Forum, as Director Stedman said. I think it's a sound piece of community-focused work. And in that, I think that all the elements of it and the flow of the process will enable complaints to be captured, understood, resolved, but more importantly for the loop to be closed. And I think closing the loop on feedback and complaints is an enormous part of, you know, what a high-performing organisation should and does do. So I think that as unfortunate as complaints are, they are inevitable, and the idea of looking at them as opportunities for improvement is excellent. So I do commend this piece of work. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Angelo, as a seconder.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll just briefly say there's a lot of work gone into this document to have the wording just right and the procedures just right, and well done to all involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Any other councillor wishing to speak for? Councillor Holt for?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, Mr Mayor, despite my question, I overwhelmingly support Councillor Wilson's words, and I strongly support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. No councillors wishing to speak for or against? No, then I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move along to 10.3, and the 10.3 agenda item today, the Wedderburn Flood Risk Reduction Upgrade of Skinner's Flat grant application. Now, we've had a few conversations around this, and I'll throw to Director Van also to please deliver today's report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. As councillors are aware, the Skinner's Flat reservoir upgrade has been identified as a priority project for Loddon Shire as it addresses one of the highest risks on Council's operational risk register and helps protect the Wedderburn community from potential flood and dam safety impacts. Council has taken a proactive approach by applying for funding through both the Regional Flood Risk Reduction Grant Program and the Disaster Ready Fund, maximising opportunities to secure significant external investment for this project. Both applications are currently under assessment, and this report outlines the financial implications of each funding pathway and the options available to meet Council's required contribution. This report presents officers' preferred approach, balancing the delivery of this project and the opportunity to leverage significant external funding while maintaining Council's long-term financial sustainability. The recommendation before you is that Council, number 1, notes the funding requirements associated with the Regional Flood Risk Reduction Grant Program, Round 2, and Disaster Ready Fund, Round 4, applications for the Wedderburn Flood Risk Reduction Upgrade Skinners Flat Reservoir Project. Number 2, authorises officers to withdraw Council's application under the Regional Flood Risk Reduction Grant Program, Round 2, on the basis that the required Council financial contribution cannot be accommodated with an existing available funding. Number 3, confirms Council's commitment to allocate a financial contribution from available urban drainage reserve funds if Council's Disaster Ready Fund Round 4 application is successful. And number 4, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to accept the Disaster Ready Fund grant and execute the associated funding agreement should the application be successful. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van Orso. Councillors, we've got a 4-part recommendation. We'll take the report as read, and we'll ask if there's any late questions or queries. If not, I'll ask if there's a councillor prepared to move a motion to the recommendation presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Holt, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, Councillor Weaver, thank you. Councillor Holt, as the mover, I'll give you the opportunity to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I just wish this problem wasn't before us, but it is. And I take Councillor Wilson's thoughts from earlier in the day around the fact that we have lots of flooding issues across the Loddon Shire that need addressing. The problem with this one is that we have been informed that this situation has the potential to lead to loss of life and exceptional property damage. So we can't ignore it. We're stuck with it, and I'd like it to get it off our books as soon as we can. We therefore certainly should seek the funding application that gives us the least cost to council. And if that funding application, the one we're going to choose, is successful, we have adequate funds in the drainage reserve with money left over to meet our commitments. There is the possibility, of course, that the advice we've received for the amount involved here of around $10 million may have been overstated. It is rarely understated. So there is potential for this not to cost as much as we think it might, but we can't proceed on that basis. We can only proceed on the basis of the evidence and the information, rather, that we have before us. And so with a view to trying to get this problem fixed and move on, I'm moving to the recommendation.
Thank you, councillor Holt. Councillor Weaver as a seconder, opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm happy to support this, given that I see it as the best way to do it once and do it right, and to eliminate that potential threat for loss of life. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Weaver. Is there any further councillors wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Wilson?
Although I will support the motion, Mayor, this has really vexed me. The optics on this, I think, to the rest of the Shire could be not so good. As I said earlier today, we've got flooding that occurs in a lot of the Shire. But I appreciate that we have a very specific risk here that has been identified, and the potential consequence and impact of not doing this, as it has been identified very specifically, would be far greater than any cost of, the consequence of not doing it could be significant for the whole Shire as a financial consequence. I just think there's, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We can wonder why houses were allowed to be put along creeks. It's all happened before you had planning schemes and planning rules. And of course, these properties that are under threat wouldn't have been built today. But I think it's going to be important, but I can appreciate the optics. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Wilson. No further councillors wishing to speak for or against. I will put the motion and ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We will move on, and councillors, as stated at the start of the meeting, this item was brought forward in the agenda, so we'll be dealing with 11.4, which is now in our decision report category of today's meeting. And 11.4 is the Annual Infrastructure Program 2025 to 2026 and the Flood Restoration Program Quarterly Report. And I'll ask Director Van also to please deliver the report and recommendation for us this afternoon.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. This report provides an update on the delivery of Council's annual infrastructure program and flood restoration program as at 30 June 2026. I am pleased to report that Council has achieved 100% completion of the 2025-26 annual infrastructure program, successfully delivering all 66 projects across the Shire. This is a significant achievement, and I'd like to acknowledge and thank our staff for their commitment and hard work in delivering these outcomes while continuing to progress the flood restoration program. The report also seeks Council's consideration of a proposed amendment to the 2026-27 annual infrastructure program, including the deferral of the Turnbulls Road Bridge replacement at Bridgewater and the inclusion of priority works at 7 Months Creek in Pyramid Hill and a floodway on Hannah's Road to address known drainage and flood-related issues. The recommendation before you is that Council, number 1, note Q4 progress towards delivery of the annual infrastructure program 2025-26 and the progress of the flood restoration program. Number 2, approve the amendment to the 2026-27 annual infrastructure program to defer Turnbulls Road Bridge replacement and substitute the Hannah's Road floodway and 7 Months Creek reprofiling projects within the existing budget allocation. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van also. Councillors, I will open it up for any questions, queries or comments at this point. If not, I'll ask if there is a councillor prepared to move. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, as the mover, opportunity to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
No. Councillor Angelo as the seconder?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think this document speaks for itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Any further councillor wishing to speak for or against? No. In that case, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour of the recommendation, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. We will continue to move on, and we will move into our information reports. And councillors, we have 3 reports for information today, and we will revert back to 11.1, and that is the Executive Directorate's quarterly activity report for quarter 4. And I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald to please deliver that information report, which we're taking as read. And councillors, sorry, I'll just catch up with my online report as I had to jump around a little bit there. So councillors, taking that as read, we do have the recommendation in front of us that council receives and notes the quarter 4 Executive Directorate's quarterly activity report. Do I have a mover to that report, please? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Holt. Councillor Angelo, the opportunity to speak if you'd like for the motion.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Holt, no. I'll ask if there's any other councillors wishing to speak. If not, a show of hands in favour. And that report is carried. Likewise, we'll move on to 11.2, Development and Compliance Quarterly Activity Report. Again, we'll take that report as read. And I have a recommendation for us here that council receives and notes the quarter 4 Development and Compliance Quarterly Activity Report for the 2025-2026 financial year. I'll ask if I have a mover. Do I have a councillor prepared to move to the recommendation? That report is noted. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak.
No, thank you.
Councillor Angelo.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Likewise, I will move on to 11.3. Councillors, 11.3 is the Community Wellbeing Directorate Quarterly Activity Report. And again, take that report as read. A lot of work goes into these reports, and we do all take the time to read them and inform ourselves of what has been happening through each of these directorates. The recommendation, councillors, is that council receives and notes the Community Wellbeing Directorate Quarterly Activity Report. Do I have a mover to that? Do I have a mover of a motion that that report be tabled? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Weaver, thank you very much. Councillor Angelo, the opportunity to speak if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's good to see documents like this come up, you know, because it keeps you in the loop and let you know what's going on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just see that the kinders and maternal and child health stuff is very important. You know, those kids are our future, so well done to Director Gladman and her team. Thank you.
Thank you. No further councillor wishing to speak. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is also carried. Thank you very much. Right, we will move on now to our compliance reports. And councillors, we have 2 compliance reports today. Firstly being 12.1, the Road Management Plan Compliance Report. And I will throw to Director Van also, please, to deliver that report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I'm pleased to present this report on Council's performance in managing and maintaining our road network in accordance with Council's adopted road management plan. More than 99% of identified road defects were repaired within the required timeframes, helping to maintain a safe and reliable road network. The report also highlights a significant level of maintenance activity across the Shire, with 214 grading works actioned, completed, and more than 700 kilometres of roads graded during the quarter. In addition, staff completed training in new road condition capture technology to support up-to-date imagery of our road network. I thank our outdoor staff for their continued commitment to maintaining safe and well-maintained roads across the Loddon Shire. The recommendation before you is that Council receive and note the Road Management Plan Compliance Report for Q4 of the 2025-2026 financial year. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Van Orso. Councillors, I'll open it if there is any late questions. If not, Councillor Wilson.
Director Van Orso, I think it would be of benefit to explain just a little bit further about these new road capture cameras and how they've been installed on the vehicles and what they're going to do, because I think that's a good advancement. I think it'd be good to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. That's a great question. Director Van Orso.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wilson, through you, Mayor. So the new cameras on the road inspector vehicles, they travel our road networks, that's the sealed network and the unsealed network, capturing the road condition every 10 metres. So what that means is if road condition data is required, or a flood may come through Loddon at some stage in the future, we're able to look at the imagery and prove what our road condition road assets look like at that point in time. So they're regularly going around the Shire capturing the images. So this provides Council a good repository of photographic data of what our road network looks like at a point in time. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Wilson, follow-up question?
Oh, and just on another report, just in terms of the Road Management Plan Compliance Report. Oh, is that where we're up to? Yeah. Yeah, okay, sorry. Can you explain the difference between the number of defects raised between the Loddon Goldfields and the Loddon Plains? Because, you know, there's 274 defects raised in Loddon Goldfields, but 401, which is quite a big difference in terms of defects.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Director Van Orso, do you have any response to that question?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Straub. So these defects are raised in accordance with our inspectors. So it may these defects are raised probably around the weather conditions. So as we're experiencing the increased rainfall at the moment, defects may be higher in one part of the Shire. As we know, the ground conditions in the north part of the Shire aren't as favourable as the southern part of the Shire, so more defects are likely in those areas. So it depends on, and also the requests that come in. So Council receives road requests from time to time, and our inspectors go out into the field and review those requests in accordance with our intervention levels. So, and that also raises defect numbers in those areas as well. So thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for those questions. Satisfactory.
It's just interesting because the road network in Loddon Plains, which I understand is the north, we say the ground isn't as good, yet we have more goldfields, the south, inspections scheduled than we do in the north. So we've had less inspections but more defects raised. So it's just interesting the variation across the the Shire, I suppose.
Thanks, Councillor Wilson, and I think that's probably very variable as we move along with a lot of those. Thank you for the questions. And I've got a question from Councillor Holt.
I'd just like to follow up on Councillor Wilson, Mr. Mick. We are not, this is by way of background to what I'm saying, we are not the Loddon Plains Shire, and we are not the Loddon Goldfields Shire, we are the Loddon Shire. And the fact remains that there's a vast difference in the cost of the road network in Loddon Plains and Loddon Goldfields. So, in terms of our infrastructure program, our maintenance program and our works program, we don't look at that as north-south, we look at it as Loddon. But the fact remains, and this is food for thought for some people, the cost is far greater in Plains than Goldfields, but that's just how it is. And we deal with it.
Thank you, Councillor Holt. We'll take that as a comment and appreciate the input. Thank you for the questions, and it is variable, as I've mentioned, and we do have issues raised across all of the Shire at different times, and these quarterly reports sort of report on the activities within that time frame, that period between certain dates, and no doubt will be different again in the next quarterly report. So thank you for those reports and questions from the councillors. Councillors, I will ask if there is a councillor prepared to move to a motion to the recommendation put forward. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, as the mover, you do get the opportunity to speak further to your motion. Councillor Weaver.
I'd just like to add to the previous comments, just put a little bit in here, Mr. Mayor. There's probably a lot more truck movements on the local roads in the north. A bit more grains been grown up there in recent years, which could be leading to the wear and tear on the roads up there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Any further councillor wishing to speak for? No one against? A show of hands in favour? And that report is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to 12.2, which is the Audit and Risk Committee update, and I'll ask Director Steadman to please take us through that report and recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, for your receipt and noting today is a summary of the most recent meeting of the Loddon Shire Council Audit and Risk Committee as required by the Loddon Shire Audit and Risk Committee Charter. Key items considered at this meeting of the committee included internal audit reports on contract management and asset management for roads and bridges, as well as the compliance management policy, council's fraud and corruption control policy, and a revised procurement policy, some of which will flow through to councillors in the near future for consideration. Councillors, the recommendation with you today for this report is that Council receives and notes the summary of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting 3rd August 2026.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, question, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Steadman, do we see the audit reports?
So the internal audit reports are issued through the Audit and Risk Committee agenda, which is provided to the council representative on the Audit and Risk Committee, and are available through the Audit and Risk Committee minutes, but we can forward through copies of that to councillors for their information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Thank you, Councillor Wilson, for the question. Councillors, I'll ask then if there is a councillor prepared to move that that report be received and noted. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillors, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo is the mover, opportunity to speak.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Weaver,
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
no one else wishing to speak for or against. I'll ask for a show of hands in favour. And in favour, sorry. Yes, that is carried. You're a bit quick for me there on the show of hands. That is carried. All right, councillors, we'll move on. Councillors, there is no matters for urgent business for consideration today. We do, though, have a confidential item that council has listed in our confidential meeting section. So in saying that, we can move now that the meeting will close to the public and the live stream will cease to allow council to consider one confidential item listed in today's agenda, which is in regards to the appointment of council as independent advisor to the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. I will thank the members of the public for showing their interest in council matters and call for a motion to close the meeting to the public while council considers the confidential item 14.1 as listed. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. And I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. And the video stream will now cease.